Who are you?
Whoever you want me to be.
Don't say I never gave you anything.
It's feeling epic.
3 words. 8 letters.
I remember everything.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Previously on Teen TV. I'm Jillian Banani.
And I'm Claire Wojciechowski.
And boy, do we have another very special episode for you today. We are diving all into plot twists. One of my favorite things about these shows, I'm a big fan of a plot twist. Like, I cannot get enough. The soapier, the better.
Yes, I do not like a surprise in life, but I like a surprise on my teen TV.
That is very true. Like, I don't want any plot twists like these
to
happen in my real life because, I mean, there are some crazy ones in these shows for sure.
I mean, typically the plot twists that we see on these shows are not positive.
No, they're detrimental.
No, I mean, we're talking things like pregnancies, especially after someone's been unfaithful or had an unexpected hookup.
Yes.
We've got, death of a beloved character, which is always tragic.
And then one of my favorites is we think a character is dead, but they're really not.
Yes, love that. Love when someone comes back to life or fakes their own death. A classic.
A lot of times the dad.
Yeah. A bad dad trying to escape from, the law or the consequences of his own actions.
Yes, we love it.
And then also, of course, a secret love child.
Which we love to talk about a secret love child on this podcast.
Yes, we did. We talked a lot about secret love children on the Unfinished Storylines episode because they were plot twists that just got abandoned. So go back and check that one out if you forgot what we said there.
Check out some of our favorite love childs.
Yes.
Also, before we get started, just want to give a quick spoiler warning. We will be discussing plot twists on some of our favorite shows like The Vampire Diaries, One Tree Hill, Gossip Girl, Outer Banks, among others. So if you don't want to be spoiled on these twists, please proceed with caution. But yeah, a plot twist is like known in like the teen drama fandom. Like they're all over these shows. But do you think there's a show that maybe does it more than others, or what's a show that maybe has like most of your favorites?
Pretty Little Liars is a show that is built on plot twists.
Very true.
Like
yes.
There's like 7 per episode to the point where it's like, is it even a twist anymore if you just walk into or sit down and you're like, I don't know what the F's gonna happen. So at some point it becomes like not as twisty because you're just like, I forgot what the original plot was in the first place.
Well, I feel like Pretty Little Liars is a show that was like based on like, oh, we love these teen shows and we love that they do plot twists. So we're just going to make a whole show that is based on that. Like that was their foundation.
Yeah, they've twisted so many times they're back where they started.
I know. I love it. I also love a Gossip Girl plot twist.
They do.
Their plot twists are like fun a lot of the times. I mean, like Georgina showing up pregnant with what we assume is Dan's baby, and she says it's Dan's baby.
Right.
But like you're like shocked, jaw dropped, but you're also laughing.
Right.
So Gossip Girl has some of my faves too.
Yeah, Gossip Girl is always a little winking in their plot twists. They're like, we know this is absurd, but like we're going to have some fun with it.
Yeah. I think saddest plot twist I would give to One Tree Hill.
Yeah.
Or no, maybe The OC.
Both of them had some sad. They were on at the same time, and I think they were in like an era of like they have to be like kind of grounded, like things that might happen. And so because of that, we just got some real sad shit on both of those shows.
A lot of death with their plot twists. Yeah.
A lot of death in like circa 2007, or I think it was like a lot of negatives happened that year on TV.
A lot of rough plot twists when I was like 14 years old watching these shows.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have still stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about some of them today. So we are each going to give 3 of our like favorite, biggest, unexpected plot twists. Some that, are our favorites or have stuck with us. Claire, do you want to go first? Do you want to do the honors?
Sure. I will kick us off.
I'm excited to see which ones you're going to talk about.
So I think for the first plot twist, I am going to go with The Vampire Diaries. The season 1 finale, the very end of the season 1 finale, when Catherine shows up and stabs John.
Yes. This is one of my all-time favorites.
It's so great. And if you remember, she she's making out with Damon on the porch, and then Jenna opens the door and is like, "It's late, come inside." She walks in and John's like, "Oh, you're here." He's surprised to see her. And then she, picks up a knife, cuts off his finger, and is like,
brutal.
"Hello, John." And then goodbye, John, and stabs him. And it's incredible.
It is so good. Because, you're thinking it's Elena.
Yeah.
And you're thinking just she just kissed Damon.
Right.
And you're shocked by that. What is going on? And then we kind of follow her into the house, and it is something feels weird. You're waiting for something to happen, but it being Catherine, I did not see that coming at all. It is truly very shocking.
Yeah, it's very surprising, and it shouldn't be, because we've spent all of season 1 talking about Catherine, seeing her in flashbacks, and in that episode, Damon says, "Don't worry, Elena, I'm over Catherine, I'm done with her, you and I are just friends." He literally says those words, and I'm looking back and I'm like, I should have seen that as foreshadowing that of course Catherine shows up, but I didn't. I was shocked that she finally made her appearance, impersonates Elena for the first time, which we see her continue to do throughout the seasons, always pretending to be Elena to get her way. And yeah, it's great. I think what's great about this plot twist too is that she sticks around to cause havoc. She sticks around for a lot of season 2. She ushers in this whole concept of the sun and the moon curse and the werewolf curse, and she introduces us to Klaus.
Yeah. She's a huge part of the show.
Huge part of the show by introducing this huge villain. And then, like I said, she's back and forth throughout all the seasons. She is there at the very end. As far as introductions to a character, this is a great one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's iconic. It is everybody remembers where they were during that moment, because I know what you mean. It is why didn't we see this coming? But do you think maybe part of it is we already knew Nina Dobrev was playing Catherine from the flashbacks, but I think maybe when Catherine would come around in present day, I wasn't thinking she would impersonate Elena or still just look so much like her. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just maybe that was part of the shocking part of it.
I think that is that I assumed that we'd meet her eventually, but I didn't think it would be in the season finale, so late in the game. At the end of the season finale, especially when it's the last few minutes. And then also, like you said, impersonating Elena. I thought we'd get more of a build up to her arrival, and they would telegraph it a bit more. So when it's her in the kitchen, and it's definitely jaw dropping.
I mean, there was a huge build up for Klaus to show up. I just think we were not expecting her in that environment impersonating Elena, which has made it so shocking. I also just feel we're a little smarter now as an audience.
Yeah.
And the Vampire Diaries has so many plot twists too that I think it kind of made us a little bit of smarter watchers. But I mean, I love this one so much.
It's great.
It's such a good finale moment too.
Right, because it leaves you on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
When Elena comes home and is walking toward the kitchen, and you're oh my God, what's gonna happen? And then the episode ends. So it's great.
The way she cuts off John's hand too is brutal. Brutal. I can't believe that aired on network TV. It is gory.
It is. I had to avert my eyes when I was rewatching this the other day, because I knew it was coming, and I was I can't look at this finger being chopped off.
No.
And then
and it's you understand more of that character in that 1 minute that you see her. She is a villain. She's out for blood, literally.
Right.
You just know, you're oh my God.
And what's interesting is you don't know why she wants to kill John in that moment. She doesn't say anything to him. She literally just tries to kill him. And it's what? How does she know him? Why does she want to do this? It brings up all these questions. Yeah. And then I think ultimately she's just a chaos agent. I don't even think of her as a villain, even though she does terrible things. She just loves to cause havoc.
Yeah. And it's fun.
It's fun. Yeah. She's a great character.
Makes the Vampire Diaries.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So
we love you, Catherine.
We do. R.I.P.
I know. Yeah. R.I.P. Actually. Yeah. Sad. What a ride that was. Yeah. Well, that was a good one.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that. That's also one of my faves. My first plot twist I'm going to talk about is one that had a big impact on me and that I do think is quite shocking. It's when Nathan and Haley get married on One Tree Hill.
Okay, all right.
So we have a big reveal the end of season 1. Lucas comes in to say goodbye to Haley. He's leaving town. She's at Nathan's. He sees that she is, undressed, sitting to get clothes, and he's like, what's going on here? And he's like, I thought you were going to save yourself for marriage, which was very weird to say. This was all very clearly a device to just get her to say, we did wait, we got married last night. And then I will say Chad Michael Murray gives such a great look of shock there. It's like, what? Like, just the reveal of we got married last night. It's such a good reveal. It's like she says it in such a good way and kind of gives like a little giggle.
Yeah.
And it is so shocking. Like teens getting married in high school is like obviously just like super shocking. But this literally being kind of like one of the last moments in the season finale, like this drew me in. I wanted more. This is like one of the first episodes of One Tree Hill I saw. So I was like, this is crazy. Like what?
Teenagers just tying the knot.
What a plot twist. So this definitely, I think, like got me obsessed with the show because I was just so curious of like what they were going to do with this. And like what I think makes it even more interesting is that you think that like they'll get annulled quickly. Like there's no way that like this will last. Like you kind of start out the next season. I remember like watching with my mom and she's like, well, obviously like it's not real. Like they're not really married or like they'll just like get it annulled really quick or whatever. I mean, they stay married throughout like the entire show.
They're the central love story of the series.
So like what I do like about it is that it's like an unexpected plot twist that like seems super crazy, but they made it work for the show instead of just trying to do like, oh, we just want to do shock factor and then like walk it back.
Yeah.
They actually like took the time, gave us a whole backstory of like how they got married, how this was possible. And then like really turned them into like the central love story of the show. And, we kind of see all the ups and downs of the marriage and like how getting married in high school, like what that does, how it affects you and all that stuff. So I stand by this twist. Yeah. I love it. I think it was smart and such a crazy twist, which is what like One Tree Hill I think is like partly known for, but a crazy twist that they were able to, kind of keep a little more grounded than some of these other like crazy plot twists that they did.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about that one is that like they stick by it. They really lean into it.
Yeah.
And like we've seen on other teen shows that come after this that they tease the teen marriage thing. Like Glee, they almost get married.
Yeah.
And even on like Outer Banks, they do like a fake like, marriage thing in season 2 or whatever.
All American, they get married and like annulled a little later. Like it's not an actual like marriage.
Yeah, but like on One Tree Hill, they take it seriously.
Yeah.
And they show that like, yes, these are high school students, but they take it seriously too. And I think that's what's fun about it is that it is a plot twist, obviously. Like it was meant for shock value at the end of season 1 to bring viewers back for season 2. But they're like, but actually like it's one of those plot twists where like the twist creates more plot, not like it doesn't back you into a corner.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that they were really smart to realize that they could have so much more to mine if they kept them married and explored that rather than undo it and just sort of go back to the way things were before.
I know. I would like love a glimpse in like their writer's room for like start of season 2 of just like everything they probably threw at the wall of like what to do with that. Because I don't think they really had thought it out. I honestly think they were like, we need to do something shocking like at the end of this finale. Let's do this. And then I just feel like I'm sure then when season 2 started and they had to start writing it, they were like, okay, where do we like go from here? What do we do? And I just thought that they brought it into like such a brilliant place that literally changed like the trajectory of the show. So I just think it's really interesting.
Yeah. Good on you.
Yeah. Good on you, season 2 writers.
Yeah.
Not the rest of season 2, I'll say.
But the top of season 2.
They put all their work and energy into that marriage storyline.
That flashback on
the
the beach or whatever.
Yeah. You know I love it. Always and forever.
Yes.
So good.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I am going to take us to a little different type of plot twist.
Oh, fun.
One of the ones that we previously mentioned where someone we think is dead is not.
Love it.
And I'm talking about Alison De Laurentiis on Pretty Little Liars.
Yes, this is so good. I feel like this is one of the original, like, we think they're dead, but they're not dead.
Right. Which, like, and it's one of those things where, like, we should have seen this coming because, again, Pretty Little Liars built on the plot twist. People are dying. People are not dying all the time, every episode. But, like, Allison being dead is like the whole premise of the show.
I know.
Like the pilot starts off with them at her funeral because her body has finally been found after a year. Like that is the point. And then we see years and years of flashbacks and this and that. And there's so many suspects. And then so for then seasons into the show, years into the run to like have this reveal that she's actually alive and has been in hiding this entire time. Like, again, should have seen it coming, but I was stunned. I was not expecting that.
Again, we just weren't as smart back then. We weren't watchers. But no, I mean, I think what partly, though, too, is like so shocking about it is that it's like seasons in.
Yes.
This wasn't like a season 1 finale. This was seasons in. So we're watching these characters mourn for like so long, and like family members, like everybody is mourning the loss of Allison. It's like how it brings them all together.
Right.
It's what had tore them apart, like initially a little bit. Like it's just such a central part that then to like have her be alive. I mean, we saw a funeral with like a casket.
I know. And then, but I think that's another thing that they do well is that it creates more storyline because then we have to unpack, well, where has she been? Why has she been in hiding? Why didn't she come back? Yeah. Why did she let her friends get stalked by A for years when she could have just been like, hey, I'm alive, you know, all of this. And then it's also, well, who is the body that was found? Who is dead? Who, like, did someone know that it was, you know, not her? All of this stuff, like, it creates all these questions that need to be answered. And it's also not like, it doesn't undo who Allison was because we see her for, you know, all these flashbacks in that yellow ruffle top.
Oh my God. How many times, how many scenes is that yellow top in?
I mean, I'm sure you've seen that, like the meme online that's like Allison did more in that yellow top in one night than like I did in, you know, a month or whatever. And it's true. Like she's bopping around town and it's like how, like, it's dark. Like it's only dark for so long, but
she's seeing so many people in that yellow top.
I know, exactly. And then we find out that she's like, you know, she's got, you know, inappropriate relationships with all these like adult men all over the Eastern Seaboard that she just never told her friends about, that no one knew about. It's crazy. But my point being that like, even though Allison is back, she's still not trustworthy. She's still keeping secrets. And even when she tells them like, oh, I stayed away for this reason and this is what happened to me, we see that like she's still not telling them the whole truth. And there are still people that are out to get her and she's still being devious and deceitful. So I think it's interesting that we get her back, but it's not like a character shift completely, which I think is nice.
Yeah, so then it doesn't feel like they completely like rewrote history, which I think is important. Because I think sometimes when you like throw in kind of a twist like that and then you like completely basically rewrite the whole story, like that's frustrating as viewers because you're like, I have spent hours watching, I mean, hours and hours.
Hours of my life, days, it's probably
hours of the show till she's alive.
Right.
So then I think to like, you know, if you decide to just kind of rewrite the whole thing, that just gets so frustrating. So did you though end up like, do you like this plot twist?
I think at the time I really did like it because I was so surprised and I was like, oh, like this will be so interesting to see her with the girls in the present because like, you know, we get all these flashbacks of who they used to be and we see these 4 liars change over, you know, their struggles or whatever. And they're such a united front, like a united foursome. So to have Allison back and sort of like upending that balance is really interesting. I wonder if they needed it. Is my sort of overall thing. I feel like they almost did it because they're like, well, we have this actress who's on contract and we've run out of time in the night of the yellow top. Like maybe we need to give her other work to do and we can't do any more flashbacks. We flashed back all we could.
I mean, that is honestly a solid point. Like, if she is under contract, like, and not just a guest star, like, they might have been like, we don't know what more we can write with this yellow top.
Right. Like we got to bring her into the present. Like we got to catch her up to speed, I guess.
That's fair. I mean, that honestly might have been the reason.
Yeah.
I think too, though, like the whole Allison being alive thing was kind of like a pop culture moment. Like everyone was talking about it. I mean, the show already was like popular and talked about, but I feel like, you know, after a few seasons in, people kind of like start to lose interest a little bit. And I do feel like this like really like brought that show like back into the conversation. And I feel like people were like losing interest a little, like, who's A? What's A?
Yeah,
what's
we're
going on? Like, what's happening? And then to find out Allison is still alive, it really got people talking again and interested in it.
Yeah, I think they could only do so many season finales where they reveal who A is and then it turns out that it's not A. Like they had done that 4 times already at that point. So we're like, we got to get a new kind of twist. And so what better way than to reveal that Allison's alive? So
I think that this is like part of the problem with my rewatch of Pretty Little Liars. It's like I went into it knowing Allison was still alive because it was such a moment and everybody was talking about it. So obviously, like I heard at the time that she was still alive. So I think that like that's a little bit of like the frustration that I had in my rewatch. If I could go back in time and watch any of these shows like at that time, it would be Pretty Little Liars, because I just feel like I missed out in watching this. I'm so mad at myself. I mean, I watched every one of these other shows and, you know, just knowing ahead of time, like who A is and that Allison is alive. It's still a fun rewatch because it's like, it's a fun show.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just like to be watching live in that moment. What a time.
it was pretty special, you know, to be there.
I got to get that yellow top.
Oh my gosh.
We all need that yellow top.
It looks like something that you'd get at like Charlotte Russe or Wet Seal.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I had a very similar yellow top.
I had one. I think mine was like lime green.
Yeah. That is like part of the fun of Pretty Little Liars is like the fashion.
Oh, yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is like what I wore.
All right. What's your next plot twist?
Okay. My next plot twist. It's another fun one. It's from Gossip Girl.
Okay.
And it is when Blair and Chuck hook up in the limo. So I feel like if you did not watch Gossip Girl live, like when it was airing at the time, this might not be as unexpected for you. But like, I remember where I was when I watched this. I mean, this was a shocking moment in the show. I think part of why it was so shocking too is I was a big fan of the books.
Oh, okay.
So I read like all the Gossip Girl books. Like Blair and Chuck never get together in the books. That is not a part of it at all. So, and a lot of the show, at least the beginning of the show, really does follow a lot of the books. So I was shocked being like, oh, wow, we are really deviating from that. And then I was like, I like what I'm seeing. Like, this is so fun. Like, that limo makeout was hot.
Very hot.
I mean, the whole scene is just so great. It's unexpected that Blair would do that because at this point, we've just seen her character, like, really try and, like, be perfect and, like, especially, like, be this, like, perfect girlfriend to Nate. And, like, I think that, like, that moment just gave her character like so many layers. And I think I was just like, it really got me like hooked on Gossip Girl as like, oh, we're doing a lot more with this show than what I thought we would. Like these characters have layers. We're getting characters hooking up that I didn't think would be hooking up. And I mean, it completely like shifts the show.
Yeah.
This moment.
I mean, they become a couple that you root for despite their toxicity.
Right. I mean, that's tough.
Yeah.
Like, that's tough to do, you know?
But I think, yeah, it's like her character is unlocked in that moment because before this, you see her as like this sort of uptight, like type A, like she's queen bee, but she's sort of very rigid in the way that she goes about that. And she wants to be perfect and she wants to be like, you know, the right girlfriend for Nate and save herself for him. And so then when she's like hooking up with his best friend.
Yeah.
In the back of a limo.
Loses her virginity to him.
Yes. And I think about like how like in the next episode he texts her and he's like, how'd you fake your virginity to Nate? Which is such a cruel thing to do, but also kind of baller.
But then it starts up this whole kind of like like fun dynamic between Blair and Chuck of like they're both, you know, kind of like
he sees her for who she is.
Exactly. Like, and they're similar and they're devious.
Yes.
And it just kind of like creates this like fascinating pairing that you really did not see coming. And this happens early on in season 1. It's like season 1, episode 6.
I literally was going to say, I think it's episode 6. But yeah, this is a great one. It's a fun twist. And it's one of those where they don't even like tease that they're interested in each other before that. There's no like looks. There's no like touching or anything like that.
Exactly. Like I was going to say that like normally it's like, I feel like on these shows, they try and like test the chemistry a little bit. Like, okay, so you're going to like glance at her like in this moment. Let's see how it looks. Like, let's see how it goes. And then they like write more and more and like a touch here and there, whatever. And they kind of try and see maybe if the audience like reacts to something and then they more write it. And this was just, they barely had scenes together, I think, before this.
No, because all of Chuck's scenes were like mostly with Nate or with Jenny or Serena. Yeah. And he's just kind of this like almost side character.
Yeah.
Like he's not even like as important. It felt that way at least.
Well, and again, in the books, he's not as important either. So that's where I thought we were like leaving Chuck.
Okay.
And then when this happens, I'm like, oh my God, what is his show going to be? What are we doing? Like, this is fun. I love that they did that, and I love that they just like went full steam ahead with it instead of teasing it. And I just thought that was like just more realistic for these characters. And Gossip Girl was so good at writing Blair and Chuck in kind of like a comedic way at times too, and in a devious way. And so I feel like this beginning for them was like kind of perfect in that sense. And it made sense for them as a couple. And I mean, you know, you do root for them.
You do.
You can't help it. You can't help it.
I know.
You know the chemistry is chemistrying when you're rooting for them, even though, like, you know, maybe they're not the best for each other at all times.
I mean, I think it's the opposite. I think they're so terrible that, like, they could only be with each other because, they don't treat anybody else nicely.
Right.
And eventually they learn to treat each other nicely as well. But, you know, they deserve each other.
Yeah.
Great choice there.
We love a good Gossip Girl plot twist.
We do. They do it so well.
I literally like forgot about Nate, I feel like, after this episode. Like, not myself. I was still looking at Nate, but like I feel like with Blair I was like, oh, I'm over Nate for her. Like, we're done with this.
Yeah, you stop rooting for him to be with Blair at all. You're like, oh, just go be with Serena already. You're already in love with her.
Well, and it's just like Nate wasn't looking at Blair in this way as how Chuck was in this episode. And like it really was just like, oh, does Nate even really like get her as a person?
It's almost like Nate doesn't even like desire her.
Yeah.
Like he sees her as a prop, and she sees that about him too. Like they see each other as like a means to an end, like this perfect image that they want to create. And neither one of them is like even really attracted to each other, it seems.
No.
So
definitely not. All right, what about your third plot twist? Final plot twist, Claire.
So I'm going
your season finale.
My season finale. It's a plot twist in and of itself because I'm going way back into the archives.
Oh, we love this. We love when you go back.
You know I love to zag.
Well, I know what it's gonna be.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
We love it. We love a good Buffy reference.
I feel like, you know, the supernatural TV shows, they do plot twists better than anyone else because they have to. Like it's just part of the genre. Like you're always twisting and doing unexpected things. But the one that I'm talking about in particular is in the middle of season 2, when Angel, who is this vampire that's in love with Buffy, he turns bad. And by which I mean he is a vampire who has had his soul restored because of a curse. Because in this world, as soon as you become a vampire, you automatically lose your soul and you're a monster. Someone has cursed Angel, they put his soul back, and that's why he falls in love with Buffy, and Buffy falls in love with him, and he's a good guy, etc. But the curse says that if he has one moment of true happiness, he loses his soul again. And
Oh
so
my God.
yes, so he's doomed
This
to
is devastating.
well, he's cursed because the person who does this is like, I want you to live forever with the guilt of all the people that you've killed.
Oh.
So if he experiences happiness, then that's gone. So he experiences this moment of true happiness. It's Buffy's birthday. He gives her a claddagh ring. They exchange I love yous, and then they have sex for the first time. And it's her first time. I think she's just turned like 17.
Classic
and
virginity age.
Yes. And then in the aftermath of that, he like wakes up in the middle of the night and is in pain and runs out into the rain, like screaming Buffy's name. And it's a 2-part episode. And like that's how episode 1, the first part ends. And then in the next episode, it picks up with him killing this girl that walks by him and is like, oh, do you need help? And you know that he has lost his soul. He is a monster.
I'm sad.
It is devastating.
Yeah, I would not have been able to handle that at 13.
It's tough because like they're in love. He's such a good guy. Like he cares about her. And again, it's her birthday. She's lost her virginity to this guy who just told her that he loves her. And like the metaphors of that, like the parallels of that, like you like sleep with a guy and then all of a sudden he's a monster and hates you is, I mean, it's the whole show's a metaphor for high school, but this is like really hitting you over the head with it. But it's painful. And what's cruel about this is that he stays this way the rest of season 2.
The whole season?
So this happened, yes. The rest of
they don't walk it back.
Not till like the very end. So this is the other plot twist that is a gut punch, is that he spends the rest of season 2 torturing Buffy, harassing her, like hurting her friends and family. He like kills people and like sets up their bodies in elaborate ways. Like he's a monster. He's probably like the most sadistic villain on the show in the whole 7-year run. And at the very end of the season, they find a way to put his soul back into his body, but it's only after he has opened the portal to hell. And so Buffy is about to kill him, and he like wakes up and is like, Buffy, like, where am I? I love you. I miss you. Like, I feel like I've been gone for months. And she's like, I love you. Close your eyes, and stabs him in the heart and to seal the dimension of hell because she has to save the world.
And he's just gone?
And he's gone until season 3.
Oh, okay.
Until season 3.
I feel like I actually was worried for a minute.
No, but it's a heartbreaker.
That is really upsetting.
I mean, if you can't tell, that season 2 is the best season of Buffy in my opinion, and it's because of this plot line, this plot twist of Angel becoming Angelus is what his villainous alter ego is called.
I mean, I was glued to the edge of my seat as you were talking about that. Honestly, like that sounds great. Also, clearly the Vampire Diaries took some things from Buffy, I gotta say. I feel like there's so many similarities.
Yeah. But
that is tough. I don't know if I would have gotten through that.
I think I watched it not in real time a few years later, but I still was like around, I was in middle school when I was watching Buffy for the first time, and it was brutal. And I played that Sarah McLachlan song over and over again that plays on the show when she kills him. Do
Buffy and Angel end up together happily ever after?
In Endgame?
Yeah.
They do not, alas.
Ah.
No, well, he gets his own spinoff at the end of season 3.
I did know that.
Yeah, and so they end, I don't think they end separately.
That's upsetting.
It is, yeah.
After all that.
I know, because you kind of think they are soulmates in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be.
But yeah, I think, it's one of those like, we both need to save the world, and we're better if we do that separately because the world needs us too much type thing. That's the way they go about it.
I do like that. I think that makes sense, especially on like a supernatural show.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, Buffy, one of the first ones to do it.
Honestly, yeah, this was 1998, I think, and it still hits to this day.
They were twisting and turning those plots back in the 90s.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah, it was a good one.
I will say, I feel like Dawson's Creek has like no really like unexpected plot twist. Does it?
Not really. Not that are shocking. I think what it is that the supernatural shows. And shows like Pretty Little Liars, where it's like a mystery to unravel, like they're built on plot twists.
Yeah.
And the shows that are more grounded, like here's people living life that are not soapy, are so like Dawson's Creek, like Summer I Turned Pretty, no real plot twists.
Oh, I think there was a plot twist in the Summer.
Really? Well, go ahead. No, tell me what it is.
Well, I think, again, maybe because I read the books, but like I do think like her kissing Jeremiah in season 1 was a plot twist for me. Like, that comes kind of out of nowhere, and he like confesses feelings for her.
Okay.
Like, I was shocked by that.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. I mean, maybe it's also because I read the books, and I thought at least like bigger stuff like that, they would kind of more stick to the books.
Okay.
But like, there is no lead up to him like announcing these feelings and them kissing.
I guess that's true. I feel like maybe when I watched it, I was interpreting like his like kindness to her and the way that like he looks at her as like feelings. But maybe that was just me reading into it because I knew where it was going.
Yeah, I guess we like knew where it was going in the terms of like we knew it was going to be about a love triangle.
Yeah.
I think I was just like, I thought this was going to be like later on.
I see. Okay. So the timing of it surprised you.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Going back to Dawson's Creek.
Sure.
It's not as soapy. And I do feel like, though, we kind of like, I mean, I at least more watch like The OC and One Tree Hill, which is like very soapy and plot twist. Every corner almost.
Yeah.
At least every season finale there was one, I feel like.
For sure. Yeah, I think the grounded shows, Dawson's Creek, My Life with the Walter Boys, Gilmore Girls, like
I would put The Summer I Turned Pretty in there too.
Yeah.
It's not soapy.
No, it's not soapy. The less soapy, more grounded shows don't really hinge on the plot twist because they're doing more about like emotional stuff.
I feel like a lot of the newer shows, there's not as many plot twists because it's all like so planned out. Like there's only like 8 episodes. They're not like, we really need a ratings boost in this last episode.
Yeah.
Which is where I feel like plot twists like originally came from, kind of.
Well, and also you're trying to get viewers to return to see like what happens next. Like it's not always the same as a cliffhanger, but they're often overlapping. And when you have like a streaming show that drops, you know, all at once, you don't have that time.
Yeah, it's kind of like I do kind of miss it a little bit. I wish that they kind of threw some random plot twists at us or whatever. You know where we'll probably get it.
Where's that?
The new Pretty Little Liars.
Oh yes, the new season. Yes, I loved season 1. Very excited for season 2 to come out soon. So
we better get some more plot twists. I'm calling for more plot twists in these shows. Like maybe let's have a show not based on a book, so we can have some plot twists.
Fair enough. I think that is where it comes from too. Yeah.
And give me 15 episodes. That's just my little PSA.
Yes.
For my last plot twist, though, you know, I'm going to bring it to a little bit more of a somber mood here, but this was a very big plot twist. Again, very big for me at 14. I'm talking about when Marissa dies on The OC.
Maybe the most shocking plot twist in all of teen drama history.
Still shocked. Still wearing black. Like, I'm still not over this. I mean, killing off one of the main teen characters on one of these shows is shocking. And when you expect the show to keep going on after that.
Yes.
Like, I mean, usually it's like, oh, we need some form of shock value. We need to kill off a character. They go after one of the adults or something. Like a character that we don't have this, like, deep attachment to. I mean, this really did like truly like break my heart at the time. Like I was shocked. I still like did not believe it. Even when I'm watching the scene of Ryan like carrying her out, I'm still like, no way. Like she's going to be alive. She's going to make it, you know, was in disbelief. Like I just couldn't believe it. And I think like, I just love that show so much of like watching the 4 main characters together, the core 4. So I think, too, it was just like, oh, this is not going to be the same. No. And it wasn't.
No.
I mean, obviously, season 4 is just, like, completely different. And the show didn't last that much longer after that, which we've talked a lot about on this podcast. But I feel like it was just such a plot twist, such a wild move for them to make. And I will say, I feel like it has probably affected like these teen shows now of like people are gonna not make a decision like that. Like they're not gonna go after one of like a main beloved character.
No, you can't.
And I just don't even think they realized like how beloved she was.
No, because I think they were responding to what they thought was people like disliking her character, but that doesn't mean we want to stop watching her. We want her to grow. We want her to change.
Well, and that's why I think like this plot twist like didn't work for me. It's like we never got the satisfaction of like seeing Marissa like be happy and like thrive and grow. And I get that like she is just like this tragic character and that's kind of like what she was. But like even if they had her just kind of like sail off with her dad working on that yacht, I at least would have been like, oh, she's happy. Like she's growing. Maybe we could have like checked in once in a while.
Yeah.
And I just think that that would have been so much more satisfying. And I just feel like, you know, we were robbed of like seeing her, you know, kind of like just live a happier life because it was so tragic. And if you're going to make the decision to have her shoot Trey in this fully affects, you know, her season 3 arc and everything that happens to her, and this like causes a full downfall with her. If you're going to make that decision, you need to though then to make the decision of like letting us see her grow or something, like letting us see something. Like, I just feel like it's like such a cop out of what they did.
Yeah, I mean, she really was sort of like this sacrificial lamb of needing to boost the ratings, needing to try and shock people into caring about the show again. And it's just like there are so many other ways they could have done that. And it's just like you can't get rid of a character that the show is based on.
Right.
Like the show is about her and Ryan at the beginning. And then of course Seth and Summer come in, but like it was sold to us as Marissa and Ryan. They are the centerpiece of the show. And for her to just be gone, especially like in an episode that doesn't give any justification for it. Like she's graduating high school. She's finally going to like move on with her life and stuff. And so to like undercut that, I think is a common thing. Like, you know, when someone's finally about to be happy, that's when they die on these shows often. But like, not like a teenager. Like, come on.
It was just so tragic, you know? Like, it's like, yeah, like I get that like tragedy kind of like followed her around and like she just like wasn't really, I guess, like meant to be happy, but it was just so much. Like, it was so devastating. You know, I think that's such a good point. We started this show like watching her, and I get that we all like fell in love with Seth and Summer like during the show. But you really underestimated how much people care about Marissa still. And just because we're annoyed at her and some of the decisions she's making, doesn't mean that, like, you know, we want her gone.
No.
Not at all. I mean, I do think this was, like, such a big moment, obviously, in the show. Everyone was talking about it. It was one of those like water cooler moments.
Oh yeah, it like made the news.
Yeah, like it was huge.
Yeah,
but I feel like it was huge in like the way you don't really want it to be huge, of just like that more like what, like negative reaction. It was
huge in the way, and like this is a terrible like pun metaphor, but it's like the way that people like watch a car crash, like where it's like, this is horrible, but I want to like, what's gonna happen? And like that's almost like what it was. I'm like, this is a bad decision, but like I'm also like, I'm intrigued by it. I guess it got people talking. It got people talking. It got me like, I started off watching season 4, and then, you know, as I've said many times, I trailed off. Well, I get it. You know, that void was just still in my heart. You know, I needed it. I didn't even want Marissa and Ryan together in season 3, but I was like, now he's heartbroken. She's gone. Now I want them back together. Right. Like, you didn't realize how much he cared until he had to mourn her. I know. For half of season 4. Exactly. Yeah. And I also just like don't like the way that they killed her either. No, I mean, I don't like that Volchuk is like involved. Like I just this like random side character is like he doesn't deserve to be in that place of history. Exactly. You know? Like I would have rather have just like, you know, something happened to the car, like I don't know, like a freak car accident, like every other one of these shows is doing. Like it's raining and he loses control or something. Rain is a great device. Yes, like, use it. I mean, in the OC, even use it. Like that would have been more believable. Like it being this terrible rainstorm in the OC than Volchuk like driving them off the road. Ridiculous.
So yeah, it's not one of my favorite plot twists, but it's probably the most memorable plot twist and the one that affected a show the most.
I would say so.
In a more of a negative way.
Yeah. I think we have to talk about it if we're talking about big plot twists. Like, you can't not bring up Marissa dying.
I mean, I probably bring it up once a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bring it up maybe once a podcast.
I was going to say, like, almost at
least
least once an episode we talk about it.
It's just still shocking to me. I'm not over it, you guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
20 years later.
Something for my therapist, I guess. I don't know. Like, still not over this.
Wow.
Well, I've probably talked enough about Marissa's death on this podcast, just in general. Literally go back to any episode and you'll hear me talking about it. But are there any like honorable mentions that you have that we didn't talk about?
I am in the middle of my Outer Banks rewatch, and I gotta say, there are some plot twists on that show.
Oh boy, are there. I will say Outer Banks, for, one of the newer shows, has a lot of plot twists.
A lot of plot twists.
That's our show. That's bringing it. I appreciate that.
I know. So the one that I'm thinking of that sticks out is like when Ward fully breaks bad and we find out in flashbacks that he is responsible for the death of John B's father, which is like, we know that he's maybe not trustworthy, he's maybe greedy, but like we've seen him take in John B.
Adopt. Like he said he would adopt John B.
That is true. It's not just like it's like a foster, but he's like, your dad is dead. You can live in my house and be my child even though you're dating my daughter.
Yeah. But like I think he uses the word adopt. Like,
I think you are right.
You, John B.
Yeah. And when he brings him home, he's like, welcome to the family.
I know. It's this whole thing.
Right. He says he's going to adopt John B., then tries to kill him.
That to me was quite shocking.
Right? He's a teenage boy.
The scene of them two on the boat, he's like, I'm going to take you fishing because now you're part of the family. And then we see him like give him a drink and proceed to try and like kill him at one point. And I was like, what? Like, this show has gone a little wackadoo. I was really shocked by that.
Right. I guess overall the plot twist is just how evil Ward is.
Yes.
Because like him being greedy is one thing and trying to get the money for himself.
Yeah.
That's like, fine, whatever. But like him being willing to murder his daughter's boyfriend after he has also killed that boyfriend's father, some dark shit.
Very dark. And I was not expecting that. Like, I think when we were all first watching Outer Banks, we were like, oh, this is just a fun show watching kids, like, live a summer in the Outer Banks,
right.
Like just living their lives.
They're hunting for treasure. It's fun.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this like treasure storyline's cute. Like, this is so fun. Let's see him on some more boats. And then I'm like, wait, Ward is this evil mastermind who's like trying to kill this young boy who's dating her daughter. Like, I was truly shocked by that. I thought he was going to be just kind of this like secondary dad character and kind of like a man about town.
Right.
Like, maybe somebody who would like end up being like the mayor. I don't know. Like,
I can see that.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like kind of more like that character, and like, oh, maybe they'll be in a race for the gold. But like, I wasn't thinking it was going to get so evil. And again, we find this out like early on in season 1 too.
Yeah.
For the most part.
We see him with the compass and we know that something shady is up.
Yeah. I just feel like even like his face like turns evil. Like you kind of like start to see the change. And I'm just like, what? Wow, everyone is going after blood in the Outer Banks.
Yeah.
It's not safe. Doesn't he like stab John B with something? Oh no, he stabs himself to say that John B killed him or tried to kill him.
Because he has the gaff hook that he used to kill the other guy. And John B is running away. And then John B grabs the spear gun, to defend himself. And then he takes one of the spears from the spear gun and stabs himself in the arm and to claim that John B is the one that did it. I mean,
like,
unprovoked.
pure evil.
Yeah,
Ward is.
awful.
Not great.
No.
But definitely I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, then it's like, I was like, okay, this is kind of like a wackadoo, soapy like type of show. And I was like, I like where we're heading with this. This is fun.
Yeah.
Like, let's just go all the way in.
The stakes go way up after that.
Oh, yeah. And then you just like, you're really rooting for John B.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
he's like, the hero of the people,
The hero of the Pogues and the people.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
What about you? Any honorable mentions you want to talk about?
I do have an honorable mention I want to talk about. This again is a plot twist that I did not like, but I feel like it was a big plot twist that was shocking and we should talk about it. But it is when Dan kills Keith in One Tree Hill.
Yeah. Big shocking moment.
It's like we knew Dan was a bad guy and a villain on the show. We know this. But like I didn't think he was a cold-blooded killer who would just kill his brother.
Yeah. Not just
Of all
anyone,
people.
his brother.
Yeah. I think that the way they did this was just so terrible. I mean, it happens at the very end of the school shooting episode, which was already like a shocking episode. And you're already going to have all these characters affected by that. Like, was it really needed then at the very end of the episode then to have Dan come in, kill Keith with the gun that was used to be brought into the school, and then pin it on Jimmy Edwards? Like, it was just... It was like so cheap. I really just thought it was like just clearly for ratings.
Yeah.
I mean, and this does have a profound effect on the show because
Huge.
Dan now is like a complete murderer. He killed also a very beloved character on the show as well. But I just still don't think it was needed. Like we could have had these characters' lives just affected enough by the school shooting. I mean, Peyton got shot. Like they were all involved in that. Like there's a lot of trauma and tragedy that happened there. Like, why did we need this added thing?
Right. We also knew that Dan was bad from already, like you said. Like, he had already done terrible things. We didn't need to add this to make us hate him even more. We hated him plenty.
Exactly. Like, it wasn't needed. And then I feel like it just got weird. I'm like, this killer's just like walking about town.
As the mayor.
And and I feel like at some points there was a little bit of like a comedic flair to Dan at times. Like we know he's a bad guy, but sometimes he was a little bit more of like mustache twirling villain, like when he's running against Mayor with Karen. And you can kind of bring him into a little bit more of like comedic moments like that. And then it's like, you can't do that anymore now that we like know this information. I know they gave him a redemption arc at like the very end, but like, I mean, it took 6 seasons to get there. Like it doesn't happen until season 9. And it's still just like, it's not satisfying to me. Like I don't forgive him.
No.
It's very bizarre. And I feel like then there was like, you took away any chance or hope of like Lucas ever even like speaking to Dan.
Right.
And I'm not saying I ever wanted like Lucas and Dan to like have this relationship, but I just felt like maybe you could have done like some form of arc with them or something.
Right. Where they at least like find like a peace or like a civility between the two of them. But yeah, after this, Lucas is like, I fully hates him. We'll never speak to him again.
Of course. I mean, and Keith was like such a father figure to Lucas. And honestly, one of my favorite characters like in season 1. He's like there for all of the teens in the show. And I just feel like he could have been a good character like to watch throughout the years.
Yeah.
It also feels like such a cheap twist too, because like this happened season 3. We're like almost out of the high school years and you're going to take the adults away basically in the future anyways. Like couldn't you have just had Keith stick around for like one more season? I don't know. And like really built up the Keith and Karen storyline. Because like they basically have Keith come back right away, gets with Karen when they were will they won't they for 2 seasons. Yeah. So then I feel like they took that away from us.
I know. Because like you said, they could have played that out until the end of season 4 and then just ridden off into the sunset together.
Exactly. And just had them be happy. I think like they had enough tragedy. It was just... It honestly was, I just think, such a bizarre storyline. Was it shocking? Yes. I mean, very, very shocking. An example of, put some rain in there. I don't know. So that's another unexpected plot twist that keeps me up at night of just what could have been. These deaths, I'm just very affected by.
I mean, the deaths are hard. Yeah, because they're permanent, obviously. But like all these other plot twists, like you can fix it, you can rectify it. Like something crazy happens, but they could have a redemption arc, or you can find a way to move forward. And when a character dies, like that's it.
Yeah. I mean, you can bring him back as a ghost for an episode. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, unless you want to.
That's it.
Or, you can always double down on the twist and have them fake their own death, which is, 2 for 1.
See, I would have loved a storyline with that with Keith or something. Like
That would have been a real stretch for One Tree Hill. Outer Banks, however, appropriate.
Wow.
We'll talk about that down the road.
That was a thing. I know.
Yeah.
The fake your death thing wasn't a thing yet when One Tree Hill, I feel like, was
No.
on. Or I honestly think they would have done it.
They might have, yeah.
With somebody. Are there any more we need to talk about?
I don't know that there's any other big. I mean, there's so many more plot twists that we could talk about, but I think we hit the big ones, the ones that affected us most personally. Yeah, we touched on some different types of plot twists on different types of shows, and yeah, we covered a lot of ground today.
I think we did it. It is fun talking about these plot twists because it's just such a moment where you're like, what? Like, I feel like my jaw literally like drops to the floor and I'm like in shock. Now I rewind.
Yeah.
I mean, we couldn't rewind before when we were watching these.
No.
But now I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So good.
I'm like clutching a pillow to my chest, being like, no, they didn't. But
That's good. I'm clutching my pearls.
yeah, we're so shocked.
Like, you did that? How dare you? I feel like I'm better at like picking out these plot twists now.
Yeah, I think we're just we're savvier viewers. We've watched a lot of teen shows.
We're quite seasoned now.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can see the telegraphs that are there,
I definitely knew John B's dad was alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was like...
I mean, as someone who has watched a lot of soap operas in my day, if there's no body, no crime, there's a good chance they're still alive.
Yeah.
That is the rule. Unless you, the viewer, see the body.
Yeah.
And sometimes even then, they're probably not dead. They're probably just faking their own death. That one. I think also like anytime in an episode where like you learn more about a character, like maybe it's like a smaller character, you learn more about them in the episode, it probably means they're going to die at the end of the episode. Because like they're like, here's something like relatable that you didn't know about so-and-so. And then they give you that just so that it hurts more when they die at the end.
I think I'm really good at picking out when someone's going to get pregnant. They don't do that. I mean, and not just because we saw a sex scene. Usually if we see a sex scene,
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
someone's going to have a pregnancy.
Thank you for the demonstration, producer Jesse.
But I feel like I've gotten really good at that. I will say they don't do the pregnancy storylines as much anymore, but I'm pretty good at picking those out.
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself about that.
Yeah.
All those One Tree Hill pregnancy storylines, I've become quite seasoned now. There's a lot on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just one of my favorite things about watching these. Maybe we should do an ep on how you can spot an
Oh my God,
unexpected
yeah.
plot twist.
A guide to spotting a plot twist.
That will be in part 2.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our recap of these unexpected plot twists. If we missed one, let us know in the comments. Claire, tell them where they can find us.
You can find us on wherever you get your podcasts. Please rate and review us. Give us 5 stars. Hit that subscribe button. You can also find us on TikTok and Instagram at previously_on_teen TV. Thanks for listening.